Hi, I'm Johnny, and this behemoth is Orla. It's a bit strange doing this video. There's somehow 750,000 of you, which is brilliant and terrifying all at the same time. But lots of people have asked for longer form videos, kind of YouTube length, 10-minute videos. I can't promise they're going to be particularly good. This is my first time speaking to camera. I also don't have many shots kind of showing the conversion process thus far in horizontal clips. But I thought I'd jump in and give it a go. I thought for the first video we'd do kind of three things. I'll give you a walking tour around the outside, talk about the boat, where I bought her, how much I paid, her length, her size. I'd show you some of the work I've already done. It's all available to see in short form, vertical 60-second clips on my Instagram, on my TikTok, or even as shorts on this YouTube channel. And then third, we can jump inside and I will show you the intended layout, where I'm going to put my bedroom, where I'm going to put my bathroom. This video is not going to be polished, it's not going to be particularly good. I'm going to try and keep the editing to a minimum on this, just so it's more of a free-flowing video. But yeah, so this is a bit more of an authentic behind the scenes, as you might say. Let's begin. I bought Orla in Aberdeen last summer up in Scotland for £3,900, and to most people perhaps she's better destined for scrap. And I can tell you there's a lot of work that makes you think that probably she is better destined for scrap, but my plan is to convert her into a floating tiny home to live on the canals and river networks of the UK, and then hopefully in future possibly Europe. She's 8.5 meters in length. She's actually a lot bigger than most people realize on camera. When I've had friends come up and visit, they're surprised actually at the scale of work necessary. And her beam, her width, is 2.75 meters. One of the things that first attracted me to this boat was, or the style of boat as a lifeboat really, is that unlike a more traditional yacht, she doesn't taper at the bow. She has a full beam right up until about here. Yeah, she's boxy, yeah, she's not going to go quick, but it means that actually for living space, you get a lot more bang for your buck. The area surrounding my boat is a bit of a scrap heap unto itself. Everything that I've pulled out of the boat sits under tarpaulins, waiting to either be scrapped or sold for metal, hopefully, but mainly put in the skip. So in this bag down here at the bottom are all of the foam headrests that were originally used at the top of the seats. I've also got a bag somewhere or other which is just filled with black and red seat belts. If anyone has any ideas or suggestions for what to use, I'd greatly appreciate them. Here's also a load of random metal bars that kind of made the center balustrade. I'll show you once we're inside the boat. My plan is to reuse them as much as possible, either as grab rails to hold on to or even just like clothes hangers. Moving around here, you can then also see these three very large compressed air cylinders. Each one of these, just in the steel or the weight of the cylinders alone, is about 60 pounds. Unfortunately, as you can see, they've kind of rusted over, specifically the one in the middle, and I can only sell them for scrap. But the difficulty is I haven't actually just got around to scrapping them. They're so big and they're such a nuisance that they now just kind of sit here knowing that no one's really going to steal them, and if they steal them, fair play. Down here you've also got this bronze, I think it's bronze, keel coolant pipe. So lots of the work so far has just been purely exterior stuff. I can't get on to doing any of the interior work until the exterior is watertight, and there's a lot more holes and problems that need to be solved. Might not seem like a lot, I've had it for several months. I did take a few months off, but the whole project takes a lot longer than you'd think, not only in terms of trying to get funding, trying to earn money, trying to get sponsors, but also there are certain things that are only an occurrence on a lifeboat which require special tools and different ways of thinking, and therefore it takes a lot longer than, oh, Johnny's uploaded a 60-second video, must have taken him a day or two of work. Some of the videos can take 2, 3, 4 weeks. Some of them can be really actually several months in the work in terms of the longer form processes. So hopefully this can kind of show you that I'm not just being slow and lazy, I'm just doing the due diligence and getting it right the first time around. I'll jump inside and take the tarpaulin off in a second, but on the side you can see along here ran originally a defender strip, just kind of like a rubber bounce rail so it wouldn't knock into things. That's going to be replaced at some point. I then also had all of this white line, something that anyone in emergency could hold on to. That had to come off. Like I previously said, these tanks had to come off, all of the interior had to come off. These are kind of standing rails, so they would sit just in this stretch here, and it means that when you're climbing into the boat, you had a little extra to stand on. I'm still undecided actually as to whether I'm going to paint these or leave these the original orange, just as kind of a nice hint at her former lifeboat self. If you've got any ideas or suggestions, please do let me know down in the comments. You can see up above me here, and also just here on the bridge, I've already popped out all of the pre-existing windows and the pre-existing hatches. Some of them getting replaced, some of them just getting reinstalled with new sealant and new nuts and bolts to make sure they're watertight. But a big thing for this lifeboat is making sure there's as much natural light as possible. And one of those things is therefore here. This was the original sliding window. You can see a video on my shorts where I took it off. It would have sat here on these runners. And my plan is for the both the one on the starboard side and the port side to have these frames cracked and replace this opaque orange with kind of a translucent polycarb or acrylic and turn these into huge windows, letting loads of natural light flood into the space. Grey is very much not the final colour. By the time this video goes up, I'm probably only a few days off revealing the true final coating. But my plan here at the stern is I'm going to transom mount just on this part here. This is called your transom. I'm going to stick an outboard there. The boat originally had this huge, big, heavy diesel engine in, which was just completely overpowered. It's the engine you'd use in emergency. If you're abandoning an oil rig, you can think the worst possible seas. And for the canals and rivers, that's not necessary. Down here, I'm having all of this basically just removed. The keel, the rudder, it's a chance of possible problems. And my mindset on all of this is I'd rather do it right once than have to deal with leaks later down the line. As you can see down there, you know, that is a leak of a hole. I'll show it on the interior side, but that's just getting refiberglassed and patched up because I no longer need the engineering for an inboard motor, and just putting an outboard motor makes my life a lot easier. With a transom mounted engine, I'm going to have it remote steering controlled, engineered so that I can stand just here. It's the one place on Orla that I can have vision overlooking over the bridge, and it gives me just a heightened platform to stand on. I'm going to put grab rails on either side, and with the new swim deck here, there's no chance of me falling in, but it would be a nice position to steer from. And what was originally sat here was this. There's one of these on the bow and the stern. They're safe launch davit hooks. They're each possible of weighing, I think, 6 tons, and one at the bow, one at the stern. They would have gently lowered the lifeboat up and down into the water. I don't have any use for them. Unfortunately, there's no possibility of resale or having them refurbed and, you know, sold back to someone who needs them, given there's such high safety standards and regulations in play. But I'm probably going to be able to sell these for scrap, and I'm going to use these steel plates as well as some custom fabricated ones that I've had made, and they're going to cover up the holes and give me something to stand on for when I'm steering from this position. Up here and all the way around the boat, you'll see small little markings like this. So these were originally either just holes, screw holes, or some of them where the original sprinkler caps went on. So a sprinkler cap, I don't have any to hand, but they're these small little bronze mushroom domed cap things, and they were just used so that if they were abandoning ship and there was an oil spill or there was a fire, they could pump water up through the middle of the boat from a hole underneath and douse the boat with water and therefore keep her from burning up. I don't have any use for those, unsurprisingly, so I've had all of these holes patched and filled, and it just makes my life easier when it comes to the interior. There's no protrusions from these metal sprinkler caps, and it means that I can give the whole boat a nice lick of paint and you'll never see them again. Walking around, you can see obviously the original orange on the starboard side, and then as you cross down into the port side, you get the grey. I've used a 2-pack polyurethane primer undercoater from a company called T-Mac. They've very, very generously gifted it to me for free, and you know, it's an incredibly high quality product. You'll see there's a few paint drops. This isn't a mark of the quality of the product. This is just my poor craftsmanship. The long and short answer is, Johnny, do you know what you're doing with this boat? And 9 out of 10 times the answer is no. I am very much learning on the job, and that's why things take longer. I get lots of comments, usually meant well, sometimes not so much, from people saying, hurry up, you could do this much quicker. And I know the answer is yes, I could, but this is my first project of this scale and size. Whether it's stupid to jump in with a project of this size first is up to you, but it takes me a little longer. I've got to do lots of research. I've got to read conflicting information online and go to forums and find out what's the best thing to do. So I'm sorry that these things take longer, but I'm of the mindset that I'd rather get it done once well rather than bodge it quickly and then in a few months' time have to deal with leaks or problems. So that kind of gives you the gist of my mindset going into this project. You'll see a few areas that I've left orange like this. So this is simply where I've got further fiberglass repairs to go. When it comes to stuff above the waterline, I've kind of, you know, I've watched and been there when the fiberglass repair guys are doing it, and I kind of know what to do if I was to do it again. But when it comes to anything below the waterline, I know my limits. I'm not pretending that I'm some fiberglass expert, and I don't want to run the risk of something going wrong later down the line. So when it comes to stuff like this, I am paying for professionals. Then you might, as a result, ask, well, where does the waterline actually sit? The truth is, I don't know. There isn't actually any information available for this boat. I believe it was made by a company called Shat Harding in Florida. I've tried to get in contact with them to no avail, but I think I've got one photo of the boat sat in the water. It was without the 46 crew members inside, and the waterline was about here. When it comes to ballast, my plan is to pretty much replace as much as I can. As long as I replace everything I've taken out in terms of equal weight with what was the inboard engine, the water storage tanks, the fuel tanks, the seat belts, the seating area. As long as I replace that and equally distribute it and put some ballast down in my bilge, and also, you know, have 500-600 kilos or in terms of litres of water available, it won't always be there. But then I think that's a pretty good job, and it will keep the boat reasonably well ballasted. Working our way up to the bow on the port side, I've just got a few items here that kind of show you the difficulties with this boat. We've already discussed at the stern, you know, this kind of hook system, but this is another difficulty when it comes to the boat. You know, a lifeboat isn't an easy mechanism and system, and you get loads of specific engineering parts. So this is a valve water inlet pipe. Like I said earlier with the sprinkler system, that's this. And it might look like a fairly easy thing to get off, a few nuts and bolts, and cut the sealant. But one of the big difficulties of doing a boat project like this is that I'm on my own. And as far as I'm aware, there's no device I can use to take a nut and bolt off from either side of the boat. When you're working on your own, it becomes very difficult, especially when you've got bolts this large, you know, to play with. I don't know if you can really work out the scale of this, but this is a 30-pound bolt, not in weight, but in monetary value. I don't know what that is in dollars, maybe $35. But, you know, there's some serious bit of hardware is the long and short. And underneath, you can already see what I've done. I've sanded back the entire boat. So I scored the gel coat. I then cleaned it with methylated spirits, and I've now gone and done the primer. And when I went up to Aberdeen and did the hull checks, the fiberglass was in really good condition. There was no osmosis. She'd been sat on the rig for however many years, was maybe used once a month as a training drill, but the rest of the time she would have been hosed down and kept in really good condition by some of the best engineers in the world. When I went to see her, there were you know, damages like this, about 6 inches, a big gash on the side where she'd been knocked in transit, and, you know, a few other items. But what I hadn't expected were all of these holes. When she was originally lifted off the crane here, she came up, and so too did the wooden chocks. Whoever the previous owner was, I don't think it was the bloke I bought it from, but I think whoever he'd bought it from and sold it to me, they drilled the chocks through, and I had no real way of understanding or realising that when I bought the boat. So anything left orange is simply where the holes need to be repatched up. And as I said before, I'm not touching these kind of things. I'd rather just pay a professional and get it done once, rather than have to worry about it potentially leaking in months, years to come. My entry system into the lifeboat isn't the most high-tech, and currently I've got a tarpaulin just to keep the rain off. But like I said earlier, you can see the holes here, and you can also see where the sliding window would have gone. But now let's jump inside, and I can show you really the layout that I've got in mind. When I first bought the boat, she looked very different. Firstly, she was a lot cleaner, but secondly, all of this space was occupied. So my first job is I removed all of the seat belts, these 3-point, I think, nylon strap seat belts, alternating red and black. I removed all of these, I removed the headrests, and then down here in the middle, you had up at the bow, 3 compressed air cylinders that I showed you outside, so that in an emergency, if there was a fire, they could still breathe. You had the water and food storage area. You had a big diesel tank here. This is the original engine bed platform. There's a huge engine housing, very heavily insulated to keep the sound in. And up here was the helmsman's chair. So he had a release hook that he could drop the boat and lower the boat. He had a big steering mechanism, he had a throttle, a big compass, a very, very nice compass that I've still got. And the helm's chair sat here, and on top of all of that ran a row of seats. So in total, 45 crew and 1 helmsman could escape in this boat. What I was talking about outside were referred to lifeboat specific devices. So this here is essentially a regulator, which meant that the boat would only be dropped from the hooks once this sensed that there was water. Looking down the boat from the stern to the bow, you can see all of the windows up here. So there's good visibility and there's lots of natural light. And this bridge area at the back is about 10 feet in height, and everything here is about 7 feet. Obviously, as you get further towards the bow, it drops slightly, but that shouldn't be an issue in terms of my layout design. You can see here, the walls are actually quite thick, and all of this on the top half that occupies this kind of big chunky space and around the windows is polyurethane foams that acted both as an insulator but also as a mechanism for self-righting and providing some buoyancy in really, really rough weathers. If I drop down slightly, you can see that the boat is built in two halves. Here is where the top half meets the bottom half, and it's big, heavy bolts. And my advice and what I was told is, as long as you don't touch the bottom half, as long as you don't remove these seats, which you really definitely should not do, it's okay to remove the top half, because the boat will still have the ability to float and bob, and there will still be a level of buoyancy. But you can cut out the foam in the ceiling, you can carve it back and get extra head height. Every single lifeboat renovation I've seen has done this. I'm not going to carve all of the foam out. You know, I think actually up in the bow end there's a nice curve, and here I will carve it back slightly so that I get a better line up here. And I've obviously taken it out in the middle section for extra head height. But other than that, I'm pretty much going to leave the interior and just build on top of it, whether that's tongue and groove or some thin ply that I can bend around and kind of pay homage to the fact it's a curved boat. I've tried recording my interior layout video for the last 20 minutes, and every single time I do like a shot and a camera angle here and a camera angle here. And the reality is only I probably know the boat well enough to work out specifically where each camera angle is, because otherwise everything just looks kind of the same dirty color with the same unclean and unkept walls. I'm going to try and record this layout in one go. If I misspeak, I apologize. But the long and short is we're here at the back of the boat, and here is where I'm getting a new door putting in. It's 24 inches by 36. It's not the hugest door in the world, but it's perfect for me. And you'll enter in and you'll take a step down, and there'll be some storage on the left-hand side for coats and shoes and whatnot. And as you enter, you'll go along a corridor, and it will be, you know, initially quite confined. It'll be a bit wider than this, but it'll be a quite confined space. And to your right is the bathroom. All you need to know about the layout is that my design principles are basically keep the bathroom to the back as small as possible, and keep the bedroom to the bow as small as possible likewise, and therefore create as much usable space on the interior. So at the back, coming through a door, and there'll be a wall here and a wall here up that line, door into the bathroom, leveled off floor, toilet underneath this alcove, and a shower built in with a little bench around this window. The window therefore provides ventilation. You can close it if you want privacy. It's a tinted window that's coming. You can close it if you want privacy, but if not, you know, on a nice day and you're looking out and there's no one there, you can have a shower, and then you can open it, and because there'll be a shower curtain, all the steam, theoretically, he says, should run off. I don't need to worry too much about ventilation. There won't be a sink or a faucet, as I think Americans call it, in the bathroom, simply because there's going to be a sink 2 or 3 meters away in the kitchen. And I know that might sound a bit dirty, but you know, you can brush your teeth in the sink. It should be fine. It's a small space, and it's really just going to be me living on it. So small bathroom, and then you come in here, and much like the TARDIS, the space really opens up. We've got 4 huge windows here. Some of them are even being enlarged for bigger ones, and the space opens up. You've got an L-shaped kitchen that runs here, and in this space, loads of light should hopefully flood into the rest of the area. And I might have some kind of storage here, my pots, my pans, my spices, and I'll be able to cook and look out through that window. On the flip side, where I'll also have a window and I also have a bench to deal with, this will just be the window seat. And then as you go around, that there will be an L-shaped dining area with a dining table. And the bit in the corner there, at the end of the kitchen, truth be told, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, if it really. Up at the bow is my bedroom. So I've already got one hatch here. This area below will be a bookcase, or a bookshelf, sorry. And I'm going to have my bed that runs widthways. So my head or my pillows will be here and my feet there. I don't want this area to be closed off, so I'm not just going to put a complete wall, but I also don't want it open plan. I don't want, you know, someone want to go for a nap in the bedroom and there's other people in the living room. Not that it's a big enough boat really for that to happen, but my plan is therefore to go for something in the middle, which is bed here, and then a cupboard there, say, for my clothes storage. And equally, on the other side, a cupboard there for my pantry. And what that provides is, you've got the layout, which is bedroom is nothing but bed, but it gives you a little space to get changed in with a curtain for privacy. And it opens up the space of the bedroom somewhat. I mean, like I said, it's not going to be a particularly big bedroom, but it opens up the space a little bit to a reasonable degree, and it gives you some privacy from the rest of the boat. And I mentioned it from the outside and briefly on the interior. Natural light's going to play a huge part in this build. So in the bathroom space, there's that one window. That doesn't really matter to me. I don't mind that it's going to be a small enclosed cubby bathroom. It's a small enclosed cubby boat. That's fine. Obviously here with all 4 windows and the one extra just here, this space should open up quite a lot of natural light. But coming down into the middle area, you might think this looks like a quite dingy space. Like I said, that's going to be a window without tarpaulin. That's going to be a window. I've also got a ceiling light or skylight. It's about a meter long and runs from here to here with a bulbed roof, like a dome. So that will actually give another inch or 2 of extra head height. So here there'll be loads of light flooding in. I then have 3 new portholes. So there'll be one here in whatever this space ends up being, whether it's an extension of the dining room or an extension of the kitchen or just like a small seating area or more storage. There'll be one extra porthole there, only 25 mil in width. There'll be another porthole here, like again, another 25 mil in diameter. And then there'll also be one porthole just at the feet of my bed. I want to say sorry, this isn't been the most brilliant of first videos. Like I said, I'm going to really prioritize the short form content and doing videos where I hit milestones. So all the videos I've done thus far are kind of where I've achieved something in the short form videos. These are more just going to be rambly vlogs. So if you have any questions whatsoever about the cost of the boat or the exact engine system, I'll do these in these longer form videos. They're not going to be brilliant, the editing's going to be short, and they're more behind the scenes. You'll see a more authentic version of me, unedited. But thank you very much for watching. It might not have been the high tech you were hoping for, but hopefully this gives you a bit better understanding of Orla as a boat. Thank you very much.